And yeah.
This is Winging It, the somewhat whimsical, certainly whirring, decidedly wonky, seldom weighty, endlessly well-intentioned, and wildly witty show about music, where one knows what's coming and the other has no fucking idea. Now, this happens in between both proper to ensure you can spend a boatload of time with us, right? Those both count. Yeah. And this time, this is very interesting. And I'm going to have to put the phone down for a minute because I'm using my phone for my notes. And I'm going to have to do some air quotes because they're appropriate.
Lacking the modern convenience of emojis, we have to put air quotes and we have to say them out loud. So, yes.
Yeah. So 10 totally phony facts from the world of music.
Facts in air quotes.
Yes, facts in air quotes.
Oh, yes. Urban legends, I think, are incoming.
Yeah, so this is Listverse. So thank you so much, Listverse, for this story. So not all reports that come out are real. With all the secrecy and scandal around the music business, it's no wonder there are tons of crazy myths and urban legends floating around, and many of those are just flat out false. And what we're going to do is dive into 10 notorious urban legends from the world of music. And as it turns out, these 10 myths are totally phony, even if overzealous fans have spread them as gospel for decades. We're going to set the record straight today. So number 10, I hope you're going to be okay with this, but Jimi Hendrix was not a parakeet pusher.
A parakeet pusher?
Right.
I've never even heard of a parakeet pusher.
Yeah, so Great Britain has a wild parakeet problem. Specifically, the ringneck version of the bird is all over the island. And they're not native and they don't migrate, so they just fly over from Africa or India.
Yeah.
Somebody actually brought them to Britain and set them free to roam. Since then, they've multiplied, and now they are a mainstay. But who brought them to live here in the first place and why? Well, one long-standing rumor claims it was Jimi Hendrix's fault. What? As the story goes, he supposedly released a pair of parakeets on Carnaby Street during his 1968 London trip. For years now, no one has been able to say for sure that really happened. And even if it did, Hendrix wouldn't be responsible for the population. Parakeet sightings in Britain go all the way back to the 1800s. Plus, biologists now believe the first big release was likely in the 1930s. So all this time, we are saying that they've basically overthrown the country, and it's the fault of Jimi Hendrix.
Well, actually, I heard a rumor, another unsubstantiated sort of urban legend, that it, in fact, was Jimi Hendrix because he did it deliberately because he worked for Spectre. That was the problem.
Oh, my God.
And that's why he was killed, you know.
Oh, my God.
Like I said, you go online and you see stuff, you know.
Fuck. So basically we're saying Jimi Hendrix is cleared. Even if he did release a pair of parakeets in 1968, they weren't the reason for Britain's aviary infestation.
No. And it honestly, it shocks the conscience, especially of animal lovers like ourselves, to think of an animal becoming a plague.
Yes.
But they do. I'm sorry, they do, and they got to be wiped out. Or something's got to happen to them.
I mean, depends on what it is.
You can think, okay, come on, it really can't be that bad. You go outside and get your ass kicked by a kangaroo, you'll understand, because they are a genuine plague in some places, you know?
I mean...
And they're dangerous as hell. You cannot withstand them. They'll mop up the floor with you.
I mean, I've seen it. Yeah. I've seen the videos. I don't know if any of them are but I've seen some... Kangaroo kicks the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Regularly.
I mean, and I can understand a certain type of bird, a certain type of caterpillar, some type of, nobody gives a shit about a caterpillar, let's be honest. But I mean, a certain type of actual animal that you like.
I don't understand what the big deal
like
is
a
with
parakeet.
Birds. I would just be like, hey, I got more shit upon my car, and that sucks. But I mean,
I can't see how they would be a plague as in animals that go around consuming things.
Yeah, they're not.
They
don't appear to be a plague, but they're just saying, hey, the parakeet infestation, which is okay.
The hell are they doing? Eating the crops? No, not
fault.
Parakeets are not eating the crops.
Yeah, crazy. Very, very weird. So that's fake news. But what about the Monkees? Not bestsellers. So the Monkees are a beloved band, but even they sometimes took things too far. Take a claim that's been floating around for years about how in 1967 they outsold both the Beatles and the Rolling Stones combined.
I've been hearing that my entire life.
Fuck?
You mean that's not true?
Of course, the claim was false. Outselling the Beatles and Stones combined in the 60s?
I think they employed in the 60s. See, I think they employed some statistical voodoo by phrasing it in such a way that, during a certain reporting period of Billboard or some shit they outsold. I mean, it can't be overall. As huge as they got, they didn't compare with the other ones, especially not combined.
You've literally been hearing that?
I have been hearing that my entire life.
That's insane.
And I knew there was some kind of subset. I mean, there was something. It didn't cover any real range. Maybe 1 year, maybe one tour or something like that, but certainly not overall. But
so, do you know how it started?
Because it actually happened.
Mike Nesmith admitted in 2015 that he completely made up the sales claim. To drive the point home,
genius.
In that 2015 interview, he called it a complete fabrication and a lie. The origin of this falsehood can be traced back to a 1977 interview in Australia. At the time, he was tired and bored of media appearances, so he decided to playfully mislead the interviewer by mixing fact with fiction.
Mike Nesmith. I swear I saw a piece. I follow the Monkees on Instagram. I saw a piece of an initial publicity photo or script outline or something like that. And Mike was referred to as Wool Hat. He didn't have a name. He was just Wool Hat.
Oh, my God.
Fucking genius, though. Come on. That's a funny story.
Oh, my God. He said, I flatly said that we sold over 35 million records in 1967, more than the Beatles and Rolling Stones combined. He diligently wrote down all this information, and I wondered for a moment if I had chosen too outrageous a lie to tell, but it turned out it had been just right.
I'm 64 years old, and I've believed it my entire life. So, yeah, Mike, thank you. Or apparently, he said he did that. He said that in the 70s, 77, right? Okay, I've believed it since then.
67.
66. No, but he said that he made that claim.
1977. Yep. 1977 in Australia. Yes.
Then I believed it since then because
oh my God,
Cream and Circus magazines, all the shit we were reading back in the day, and even Rolling Stone because it used to be about music. Actually, we heard that shit there.
That's some crazy shit. I would never have believed that. I don't care whose mouth it came out of.
I mean, I figured it was for a month. It was for 1 year, one tour, one something.
Like an hour? Hour?
I mean, they did get big. Jimi Hendrix opened for them,
I mean,
they're still beloved. They made their own music.
Hey, did they make their own music?
They did. Not initially.
I mean,
not initially,
let's just back up a bit.
But they're beloved because of the eccentric shit
the corporate
that Mike
shit.
Nesmith wrote and Peter Tork and all those guys.
Well, they started as a corporate creation, and then they turned into a
they were Don Kirshner owned them,
But they were never ever bigger than those two bands combined. There would be no way.
Again, voodoo.
Super weird, but
statistical voodoo.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. Have you heard of the 27 Club?
Oh, of course. There's a touring tribute act called the 27 something,
Well, they're saying that it's, the deadliest conspiracy and that it's not real. The 27 Club is a notorious phenomenon that links musicians like Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. These talented stars all tragically passed away at the age of 27. And obviously, it's a mysterious statistical anomaly. By the time of Cobain's demise in the 90s, the concept of the 27 Club had already gained steam. Right? And then, of course, when we lost Amy Winehouse at 27, it continued. And there are other well-known cases like Brian Jones, Robert Johnson, Alan Blindell Wilson, John Pigpen McKernan, and many more have also been associated with the 27 Club. Why are so many rockers dying at 27 anyway? Well, it turns out they're not really. Interesting. Scientific studies have debunked the notion that musicians are more prone to die at the age of 27. Now, here's the thing. Maybe it's not scientific fact, but I do think you're more reckless at that time in your life. Yeah. And at some point, I think your body is done. And if they've been, beating the shit out of their body for X amount of time, by the time they get to 27, their body is completely and totally fucked. And so there's no coming back from it. So one more thing pushes them over the edge.
Yeah, and another one. I think Pete Ham. From Badfinger or somebody, something like that. But
potentially,
yeah, they're living faster. That's true. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything to it. It's just the fact that when they hit. I mean, these are people who got famous fairly young, never really having done anything in life besides be artists, and they do live fast in a lot of cases. many of them died at other ages. We just don't notice them. It just so happens. It got started with the big three from the 60s who died in like 70, 71, I think.
Right, but it's...
Morrison, Joplin, and Hendrix.
Right.
But, that is kind of strange, but they were all contemporaries, and they all were living fast.
They really were living fast. Yeah. I mean, I understand it's not scientific, but it is really eerie and creepy that they all died at that same age, but they were, like you said, living fast.
And yet, sometimes it happens to even older folks, and we just don't think... It's weird. We notice it when it happens to older folks. Like John Entwistle of The Who died, I think, of a cocaine overdose in his 50s. While The Who was on tour,
he was a little more hardy. Yeah. Some of them are not quite as hardy.
And there were years of not touring and things like that. They're not very prolific, that group, But it just, we notice that when they're young. But they didn't just die I don't think they died of accidents. They mostly something violent, something drugs, something,
right?
Yeah.
Drug, suicide, that kind of thing.
I mean, we lose people in plane crashes and things like that and everything.
But I think they're in the spotlight, and it's such a young age to die.
It's terrible. You're not even 30.
Yeah, you're a baby. You're just...
when you get to be our age, I mean, not that we're the same age, folks. Don't get the wrong idea. We're not the same age. But when you get to be over 40, okay.
Hey! Don't release any info.
Even slightly, okay? People are going, dude, we know. What the fuck is she trying to get? No, she's young, actually. She's a lot younger than I am. But, I say this as an elder here.
You tried to age us. I don't know what's up with that, man.
Meanwhile, all that pontificating, I forgot what I was going to say. Hang on a second.
So, again, I want to say I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I kind of feel like there's something really creepy about this. I'm not saying that there's some cosmic thing happening, but it's just really, really unfortunate, really sad, and just very coincidental.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is kind of. When you think, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's also happened to a handful of other artists, like actors, for example. But in the other realms of show business, but it is a little creepy. But I don't know. Not that I think it's more dangerous in any kind of hoodoo way. I don't believe that. It just happens.
I don't know if there's any cosmic involvement, but it is really creepy. And
so we're kind of both going with no hoodoo.
Yeah, probably no hoodoo. Yeah, but it's interesting because they actually got scientific about this shit. Analyzing the deaths of over 11,000 musicians spanning 60 years, researchers found that only 1.3% of them died at that age. So it's not a very big percentage, which makes it even creepier to me. Surprisingly, the number of deaths was higher at 28.
Wow.
As expected, the mortality rate increased with age, and it reaches its peak between 55 and 65. The deadliest age turns out to be 56.
Wow.
Claiming the lives of 2.3% of musicians.
Wow.
So, anyway, it's not factual. It's just, ooh, that's creepy. Ooh, that's creepy. So,
we old duffers just hang on here.
You know how some people say that they think Elvis is still alive and hiding out? Well, I hate to break it to you, and I hope everyone is sitting down when I say this. Jim Morrison is not alive.
No, I think he and Elvis are both dead, actually.
In the realm of urban legends, there's a wild rumor floating around that suggests a deceased musician might actually be alive and kicking after having orchestrated his or her own demise. No, we're not talking about Elvis Presley. Although there is also obviously that myth. And still, let's venture into the idea that Jim Morrison, the charismatic frontman of the Doors, pulled off the ultimate disappearing act. Morrison's untimely demise in 1971 happened under somewhat mysterious circumstances. Quickly, it fueled the flames of speculation and conspiracy. The musician tragically passed away in his Paris apartment, joining the infamous and just recently discussed, just moments ago rather, the 27 Club. A drug overdose seemed the likely cause of death, but his partner, Pamela Corson, feared legal repercussions, so she provided a false statement to French cops. In it, she claimed Morrison died from a heart attack. Without any signs of foul play, authorities skipped an autopsy and hastily buried Morrison. Then they only informed grieving fans after the funeral of the fact that it was not a heart attack. Naturally, that bizarre series of events had all the makings to push some skepticism. So they didn't even think that he'd actually died. They thought it was just a big hoax because he wanted to disappear because he didn't like stardom, which I'm like, yes, he did. Hello.
Well, I mean, I can see him having some big moody thing and thinking, "Oh, I hate being famous now."
Of course,
because it's got to suck a lot of the time.
Very Morrissey of him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I've always pitied the famous. I think it has to suck to a degree. Yeah, I'd heard the suggestion that he faked his death and everything, but it seems to me, if he faked his death, I don't know. He would. The smart play would be. I mean, even if let's say he hated famous, there's no way he hated music. He talked about it all the time. He still wanted to make music. That seems pretty obvious, even though he was taking a bit of a sabbatical. And I don't know the intimate details of this, but I figure he would collaborate. He would conspire with, if anybody, with the other Doors and say, "Let's do these songs, and you say we were working on them before I died, and just release them and say, oh, you found the reels, and now they're going to release records." And he's presumed dead, but his new records are out there with the Doors.
Well, look at you, like you just want a whole. Now you've started new conspiracy.
That's
theories.
A new conspiracy theory. No. I mean that's a contingency. I'm saying if Morrison was smart, and I think he was certainly. That's what he would do if he were going to fake his death. He'd collaborate with the Doors, but no, I'm sure he's dead. Actually,
well, did you know that there are some suggestions that he fell victim to assassination plots? Others claimed he overtoast. He had an overtoast.
Too much French toast. I'm so sorry. I'm doubly sorry if that stays in. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not staying in. Yeah. Others claimed he overdosed at a trendy Parisian nightclub with his body transported home to avoid unwanted attention. And then perhaps the most audacious theory emerged. Jim Morrison staged his own death, got himself a fresh start, and abandoned his former life. So interesting. But his closest friend, co-founder and keyboardist of the Doors, said it's not true. And the official cause of death and Morrison's burial was very, very real.
Well, that's the thing. Is I don't know the details of this, and I'm assuming that the story that he was hastily buried and basically nobody examined him.
Well, because she said he had a heart attack.
Yeah, he had a heart attack. Okay, fine. We don't need to find out. We don't need to autopsy him.
But everybody knew that he was an avid drug user, so I assume they thought, well, he's living hard and fast, therefore he fell. The mighty has fallen.
Yeah, but evidently the reality is that it was discovered why he died and that he wasn't hastily buried or any shit like that. Okay, so that was a rumor. I see. I didn't hear any of that.
There's so many rumors.
I've kind of figured he was always actually dead.
Yeah, and speaking of death, another one that's coming up is I know that we don't think it can happen, but someday it actually will happen. And no, Keith Richards is not immortal. He is not.
No.
He has gained notoriety for his extensive history of drug abuse, and yet he has outlived many of his peers who followed a similar path. The 27 Club, right? So it just seems like he's outliving everybody, so everyone's starting to think that, wow, maybe what he's doing is replacing his entire blood supply with fresh blood. That's what they say. According to these claims, a musician sought treatment with an exclusive medical facility hidden within the Swiss Alps to overcome his heroin addiction, and said that he, later confessed that he fabricated the entire story out of sheer boredom.
Wow.
So I'm just thinking, this is the second story where they're fabricating bullshit, and I'm just like, so why is your life so boring as a super huge rock star, pop star, that you have to fabricate bullshit to feed to the press to then feed to your fans? That seems bullshitty.
Yeah, and to me, it seems to me, and I know most people find that stuff interesting, but to me, I'm thinking, why do I even want to know if he does that? I've heard that story. I've definitely heard that story. And I thought maybe it was true, actually. It's not outside the realm of possibility. So I thought maybe that was true. And for those of you who who are familiar with the Rolling Stones but don't exactly grasp how long they've been around, it's been over 60 years. It's been like 63 years. They were way under 27 when they started out, and they were living super fast by 27. So they, Richards at least, barely probably escaped joining the club many times himself. Now I honestly think he's probably clean, so he's just a healthy old man now, like Jagger, only not as much as Jagger because he's really healthy.
Well, he says, this is kind of how it started. Here's the instance. Mm-hmm. In an interview about the supposed blood transfusion, he fessed up to the fake. Someone asked me how I cleaned up, so I told them I went to Switzerland and had my blood completely changed. I was just fooling around. I opened my jacket and said, how do you like my blood change? That was all it was, a joke. I was fucking sick of answering that question, so I gave them a story, and what a story it was.
It's kind of funny, actually.
I guess it is funny unless your fans are really like, oh God, I hope he keeps having his blood, completely changed.
Well,
so he lives longer.
I mean, hearing about it after the fact, even if you were like a real, fan, and I am, and we've been talking about people. I am a huge fan of Jim Morrison, and I am a huge fan of the Rolling Stones too.
Know.
But
yes.
As a huge fan, if let's just say I was really, really concerned about this for some reason. As long as I heard about it afterwards and he was well, it was like, okay, good. It didn't hurt him. It sounds like a really bizarre-ass thing to do.
It's like the Michael Jackson hyperbaric chamber situation.
But, as long as he's okay, it'd be like, okay, it wouldn't be that fascinating. Although I have heard that, yes, and have sort of thought maybe it was true. So they got me again, basically.
I mean, yeah, so you're susceptible to this shit. What about this?
But I don't care, so that validates me. That vindicates me, yeah.
So did you know that Avril Lavigne is also not dead?
I've never thought she was.
Well, it looks like, they thought so in 2003. So, Avril Lavigne has her own celebrity doppelganger, apparently, and rivals any music myth out there. According to this conspiracy theory, the real Avril Lavigne tragically passed away in 2003. And so this would have happened shortly after her rise to fame with her debut album Let Go. However, even before her alleged demise, Avril apparently had reservations about her newfound stardom. So the story went, she occasionally employed a body double named Melissa for public appearances. I'm not sure about any of this, but let's continue. So her record company allegedly made a shrewd decision to keep the momentum going by promoting Melissa to assume Avril's identity full time. Intriguingly, the new Avril purportedly dropped subtle hints about the switch in her songs, even went as far as writing the name Melissa on her hand in a publicity snapshot. So these clues, if you will, fueled the fervor of conspiracy theorists. Despite the mounting speculation and so-called irrefutable proof, she chose to largely brush off the conspiracy theory. So interesting. So why would she do that? Why, first of all, would she really have had somebody like a body double go out? No, that's kind of smart if she did. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, here's Avril, go do your thing, right? But very, very interesting. And then she really died. They say she really died. And then, yeah, I'm just not seeing how any of this is possible, how anybody would have bought it. And I don't think there's a body double that would be good enough to fake us all out.
Now, well, Avril obviously works for Spectre also.
Oh my
but
God.
the along with Jimi Hendrix, they get everybody, they get whoever they want. But now, so you're saying Melissa put out albums and pretended to be Avril? Is that?
They're saying this is the theory, yeah. That Melissa.
So see, the problem is after Avril is presumably dead,
right?
I don't know how many albums came out in Avril's name that were actually Melissa, according to this ridiculous theory. It's just Team Melissa here.
Are you?
No,
you're hoping.
No,
you're hoping that it's
no.
real.
Why would it? No, of course it's not.
So, yeah, very weird. Avril says, no, I'm very much still alive, and it's my music, and it's me, and there is no Melissa. So
we demand a DNA test.
It's right. Can we see you both in the same place at the same time?
Yeah, or did you kill Melissa?
I mean, I think that's what happened. It's so weird because we know that there are a lot of stars out there with a doppelganger, but there's no other theories or speculation that I have, that comes to mind, I don't think, that this sort of thing has been floated around. So why Avril? I don't know. Very weird.
It's funny you should mention. I'm actually the doppelganger for a number of stars.
Oh, which ones?
Oh, isn't it obvious? No.
Perhaps to some.
No.
Perhaps to some.
I have heard Eric Clapton, Roger Daltrey, and Michael Douglas. Where the fuck they got Michael Douglas? In my wildest dreams, I look like Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas. What year?
Yeah, right?
He would. That's a hot motherfucker. I like it.
Yeah.
What else did you get?
Well, no, just those three mostly. But,
who was it? So
Eric Clapton.
Okay.
And I dubbed myself Jerry Garcia. But Eric Clapton, Roger Daltrey back in the 70s. I got that a lot. And Michael Douglas is like, thanks. Especially thanks for the Michael Douglas part.
Is it the hair?
I don't know. It's weird.
That's interesting.
But anyway, you're talking about it just. I don't actually pass for them. I'm not Melissa. I'm not pulling a Melissa here.
You know what's really funny is I get the you look like, but it's not a celebrity. Like, you look like my best friend. You look like my aunt. You look like my sister. You look like or whatever. I also get a lot of you remind me of, but it's never a fucking celebrity.
Yeah.
God, that could make the big bucks. pretending to be them. And this is weird. I had not heard this one. I can't wait to see your face. The love roller coaster scream, not a murder. You heard that one?
No. You're talking about the song Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players or the original?
It all began with a scream. Back in 1975, the Ohio Players released their song Love Roller Coaster. It had a unique element, a scream in the middle of the music. Soon, a rumor spread that the band had accidentally captured the final cry of a woman being murdered in the recording. How did this happen? Well, the band was laying down tracks, and a woman was supposedly killed nearby. Some say it was just outside the studio, while others claim it happened in a different room or even a neighboring apartment. The scream heard faintly halfway through the song seemed like an unintentional recording that only added to the belief. So another version of the legend suggests that the woman was not killed, but rather badly scalded by hot honey. I have so many questions.
Probably shooting the cover of the album, you know.
Probably. Yeah. In that instance, the scream supposedly belonged to Esther Cordet, a model who posed nude and dripping with honey for the album cover. However, it remains unclear how her scream ended up on the recording. Have you heard that one? I had not heard that one.
No, that's a news story. Of course, everybody knows the song, and I remember the album Honey with the cover, and as soon as you said somebody was burned, it's like, oh yeah, it must be the cover, you know. So that's apparently what they're saying. No, neither of those stories, the dead story, the burnt with honey story. No, the dead story is the rumor. The burnt with honey story actually happened.
No,
they don't know why it's on the recording. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, we know.
No.
In truth.
Oh, here's the truth. Okay.
The explanation was
never heard
simple.
it, but I was buying it. Yeah.
The scream was neither accidental nor from a woman.
Oh.
It was actually created by Billy Beck, the keyboardist of the Ohio Players. He wanted to add an extra touch to the track, so he wailed away. And even though he succeeded in making an impact, it wasn't quite what he had originally intended. But still, the song lives on today because of it.
So he wailed away, even though he's a keyboard player. We're talking about vocals here. He just went for it on the vocals.
He screamed.
Awesome.
And then they were like, oh, my God, did you hear that? Right? It's a whole thing.
Never heard that crazy murder story. That's wild, you know.
So here's another one. Phil Collins, not a death voyeur. So here we go. Fans of music often debate the hidden meanings behind their beloved songs. One such example is Phil Collins' iconic song,
oh, yes,
In the Air Tonight. Despite its popularity, many fans remain uncertain about its true message. What are your thoughts, and did you hear this crazy rumor?
Yeah, I've heard the song. Of course, this is the thing about, you can say, oh, you know, Disney pop, blah, 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 Phil Collins all you want. He's a scary, dark motherfucker, and he's a real rocker. We love Phil Collins around here.
Oh, hell yeah.
But, and he's an amazing songwriter, amazing.
Oh, well, the Billy, don't use your number, and the, you know, Billy, don't you lose my number. All
right, maybe
and
not.
the studio. I'm out.
Yeah, I didn't figure that was your bag, baby.
Oh, and it's something, being an illegal alien. I'm out of there, too.
But, you know,
there's a few.
Yeah, he's got a few. It's just like, okay, it is exactly
it's
the cookie cutter song thing.
Not even.
And I don't know.
I don't want those cookies.
But over on the balance sheet of Phil Collins is
true.
Is brilliant.
Leaning in the brilliant
And this
side.
song is one of those dark songs and everything. And it's a really impactful lyric when he talks about drowning. Of course, I've heard the story. You know.
Yeah. So some claim.
Oh, by the way, did I believe it like the other one, like some of the other ones? No, actually, I did not believe that.
Well, that's unfortunate because it's a fake.
No. I was going to say I've since heard.
Some claim Collins hired a detective to track down his heartless person, whose murder he had witnessed, but it's not true. It's completely wrong. What he says again is, when I was writing this, I was going through a divorce, and the only thing I can say about it is that it's obviously an anger. It's the angry side or the bitter side of a separation. So what makes it even more comical, he says, is when I hear these stories, which started many years ago, particularly, he says, in America, of someone coming up to me saying, did you really see someone drowning? I said, no, that's wrong. So clearly we don't know where this shit started, but it was really, really weird, and it's not real. It was all about his divorce, which is pretty brutal. I mean, that he was, it's so dark. I mean, I can't imagine. I
honestly, I never thought I never heard the final story. I just wasn't buying the drowning story.
Got it.
But I thought I didn't know it had anything whatsoever to do with his real life. I thought it was just one of those, let's pretend I'm really dark. I mean, everybody's written a song, I'm a murderer, I'm a this, I'm a that, you know. Let's just put on some mask and play some role of a really, really upset and disturbed person doing something awful, with maybe a tiny hint of you kind of understand. But it's a powerful song. It really is. I just thought he was making it up.
Powerful.
I just thought he was saying, let's make a dark song. I've even dabbled in that myself.
I think he was just in a dark place, and it came out, and it's raw, and it's brutal and beautiful, so it's perfect.
If I ever get in a dark place, perhaps I'll write some songs. Yeah. Hasn't happened yet. But.
All my stuff is pretty dark, honestly, but that's okay. So the Beatles, they're not royal stoners. Did you know that?
Is that the rumor?
Well, the Beatles were an integral part of the music scene in the 1960s, as we all know, and they were said to have pulled off a daring act of rebellion at Buckingham Palace in 1965, getting high.
Ew.
Legend has it that during a visit to the palace where they were awarded MBEs by the Queen, Elizabeth II, the Fab Four sought solace in the bathroom. There, they supposedly sparked up a joint together to calm their nerves. You haven't heard this one?
No, I have not.
Well, the authenticity of this tale remains disputed. Paul McCartney and George Harrison have dismissed the claim. Instead, they assert they were merely indulged in regular cigarettes. Even John Lennon later recanted his initial statement boasting the supposed doobie day. Instead, he later implied that it was this momentous event in the band's career. It was nothing more than an imaginative lie. So while everyone thought it was momentous, it was just a lie. So were they genuinely under the influence when they encountered the Queen? The truth may forever be shrouded in uncertainty. The legend itself is now lost amid the myths and stories surrounding this iconic band's legacy. But to hear the band members themselves explain things, it would seem the weed story is phony. So interesting. I had heard this, and here's the thing. I know it seems very taboo, but I mean, sure, I could believe that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's not a shocking story at all, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm surprised it's not true.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as far as calming nerves, that's not exactly what it does,
No.
so I hear.
So
But
I hear.
I've seen people high on pot in my life, and
Yeah.
it's not, doing so is not throwing all caution to the wind. You can encounter people and be high,
You can get too high.
You can get too high, but if you just get a little high, you can encounter people and they will have absolutely no idea.
But if you
and
are...
they came to
true.
the shore, they came here acting like a bunch of cards and cut-ups, and, they were all wisecracking constantly and everything. Of course they're going to be somber, but you can be wild and funny, so people who get high on pot tell me. You can also be serious and professional, and yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And it's not that shocking. Okay, it's against the law probably over there.
Oh, for sure.
And
probably
probably a violation of decorum. Yeah,
frowned upon for sure.
I mean, he's probably having thoughts about knighting some of them. But no, even if it were true, I wouldn't be shocked. But I have not heard that one.
Yeah, I heard it, but I was like, who cares?
Yeah.
But I guess it would have been a big deal, like you said, that decorum violation.
Yeah, I guess so. At least it's not one of those rock stories where there are stories out there, and I think most of them are true, that just make you kind of sick to hear.
Yeah.
And we haven't been encountering those, and I'm glad about that.
Well, there's only one more, and it's definitely not of that ilk. John Denver, not a sniper.
I never heard about that.
Oh. So, obviously he's known as a friendly folk musician with a passion for nature. So it came as a shock to see that he's been falsely accused of being a ruthless killer during his time in the U.S. Army. However, the rumor couldn't be farther from the truth. While it's true that he hailed from a military background with his father serving in the U.S. Air Force, his own aspirations of becoming a pilot were dashed due to poor eyesight.
Wow.
Additionally, a lawnmower accident during his teenage years left him missing 2 toes. Oh, my goodness.
John Denver only had 8 toes. I never knew that.
I didn't know. So he was already out from being a high-level military sniper before his supposed dreams of military glory even kicked off.
The Army wants you to have all your toes. Yeah.
They do. Now, it's true that in 1964, he did receive an Army induction notice. However, his health issues rendered him classified as 1Y.
I'm sorry, did you say elf issues?
Did I say elf?
Yeah. I was going to say, he was kind of diminutive, I suppose.
Fuck. See, that's the stuff. Thank you. However, his health issues rendered him classified as 1Y. Do you know what that is?
An elf? Yeah.
I don't think that's what it means. That limited his eligibility for service to only times of war or national emergencies.
You got to be really hard up if you're going to have a guy with 8 toes.
I guess so. So despite the online spread of these baseless claims, his gentle nature and image for his fellow man remain untarnished, and now you know.
Wow.
So I don't know where that would start, other than it probably seemed weird to people that he was attached to the military in any way, because he seemed so sweet and gentle and kind. But why can't you be sweet and gentle and kind and still serve the country? I don't know.
That's the thing. And, I know, again, it's like the plague animals kind of thing. It's, I'm really sorry that sometimes you got to kill motherfuckers in war, but you do. It's terrible, but you do.
It is.
I mean, and somebody has to do those things. Maybe not each and every single one, but in general, somebody has to do those things. And if he did, I would be a little surprised, but it'd be kind of like, dude, wow. I mean, because he's like the Bob Ross of music. I mean, he's one of those just friendly, fun-loving guy, good actor, brilliant songwriter, and I've always been a fan of his and everything. And even if I did find that were true, I'd be like, well, I would be surprised, but I mean, it wouldn't be shocking or anything.
Right? Really wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So interesting. I mean, those are 10 interesting, I guess, myths that have been out. Well,
they definitely. Because you stopped. I'll resume interrupting you as soon as you start again.
That'd be so perfect. So those were 10 phony myths. So if you believed any of those or were exposed to any of those and thought, I wonder if they're true, they're all bullshit. As are most of these weird, little lies started by artists themselves or their fans or people maybe just trying to cause a stir. So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, there's some really far out ones like, hey, somebody got murdered and they left the scream on the recording.
What?
That's a very far out one I had not heard.
Yeah.
But, it was a fascinating topic.
Very, very interesting. Well, we have exhausted the top 10. And again, thank you once again to Listverse. So now that we've talked about that and maybe perhaps even talked it into the ground, that only leaves for you to say,
let's fly this coop.
This has been Winging It, a presentation of Birds of a Feather on What the Flock Radio.